Welcome to part 2 of the Behind Enemy Lines painting tutorial for the US Marine Sherman. We'll carry on, get straight into it. We're going to go first of all with the tracks using the AK Interactive rubber tyres. Comes in the AK Interactive Wargaming sets, which is quite cool. So you get a set of paint as well as, you get sets of paint. You get some utility sets of paint, so you got one for rusted tracks and dark tyres as well. So just painting this bit of stowage that I got out of the Battlefront improvised armor set here, so just going to do that and then we'll do the tracks, but we'll speed that up because you don't really want to see it. So we've finished the big job, which is the airbrushing. Next step is of course hand painting. Hand painting will take a little bit longer than airbrush. Well, it takes about the same amount of time because we've done the big job with the airbrush. It's hard to like some people describe using airbrush as cheating. It's more or less just another tool, if you think of it that way. There's no such thing as cheating when it comes to painting, unless, you pay someone to paint it for you. And then again, that depends on how much time you have. To me, that's cheating. Anyway, or pre-painted. Pre-painted is like really cheating, so you didn't even try. But once again, it all comes down to the amount of time you have and what you want to use. So, enough about my whinging about painting. Going over this rubber tire section over the actual wheels on the tank with rubber, the ones I can see and get to anyway. Careful not to paint on that wooden armor. Okay, we come back. There we go. Solid tracks. So my sandbag recipe is English uniform, US field drab is still back there, and of course a beige brown. A German camo beige brown, I do believe, because it is a very light colour. So I tend to use sets of 3 when I do this. When I do colours anyway. So there's the sandbags brown, but I'll come back through and I'll lighten those up later on. Alright, there we go. And I've also painted all the other bits and pieces. The metal bits on the track links are actually beige brown. The boxes are beige brown, but they'll be lightened up with old wood, Vallejo old wood. We're going to give it a wash now using AK Interactive. So there's a a satin varnish. I don't like using a gloss varnish because it's too glossy, but I'll use a satin varnish because it does the same effect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the wash to just go over. It's for dark green vehicles, but I know most of mine is as yellow. So I'm just going to go through all the cracks and crevices. We'll go over this quite fast because no one wants to really watch that. It's not a big deal if you get it, on the actual surface where you don't want it, because we'll come through and we'll clean that back up. So just get it where the wash would form, where grime and grit would get into, which is between all the nooks and crannies. So in the engine hatches there, around the turret. Making sure that it just helps blend it together. That's the word I want to use. So, in real life, you don't normally get this grime unless the tank's been active, which this one obviously has been because they've improvised quite a lot of armor on it. So they know from the start what to do. So, just do it. It might look thick at start, but this is why we have the white spirit or turpentine, odorless turpentine as it's called. Now this is a cool bit. I like doing this, the wood here. This helps bring out the wood grain in the improvised wooden armor. Now I'll do a tutorial on making this, but I've got some proper plastic Shermans, so we can go through those ones. Some M4A3 Lates. This is not the right model to use, by the way. This is the M4A3 regular, and if you're a rivet counter, the Marines only receive the M4A3 Late. So I'll go through and show you how to make that armor out of plastic card in a later video. So that's done. Here's the white spirit. Okay, so what I'm going to use the white spirit to do is to basically feather and give a faded look to that grime we just put on, and take off the bits that are the big splashes, the bits where there's too much of it. So you'll see when I get to it. I don't have much of this white spirit left. I think I had an accident where I spilt some of it, so whoops. So I'm being quite sparing with it. So I'm going to get a bigger brush here. With this, I tend to use synthetic brushes as well. And what you always want is you want the brush just damp with white spirit. You don't want it to be soaking wet. And the reason I keep painting on my hand and using my hand as a sort of a palette is I'm getting rid of the extra wash. I don't want it to be transferred from one part of the tank to the other, so I just put it on my hand. And I use a downward stroking method here as well. The reason for that is I'm trying to go where it would flow. So if you think about where gravity affects something, just pull it down and around or out. Anywhere that rain would go. Think of it like it's basically water in this sense. So you pull it, you push it, and you just make it go with the flow, as it were. And around this is just catching the tops of it and anything that's extra. So it's just there to help it pop. Now here is I'm going down on these ones, so pull down each time. That part there, I'm still really unhappy with. It's going to be one of those things I always see, that blob right there. That's not the right shade of the yellow. Even though in the last video I totally painted it with the yellow, it must have just stopped working my airbrush at that very point in time. You can see there's a bit too much grime, and that's what looks like a fingerprint there, but I don't know what that is, so we'll just ignore that. So we'll just keep going. Now we'll do the other side. Just clean the brush off. A lot. Same motion again. I think this part is sped up at 2 times speed, because I go a lot slower than this normally. Yeah, so I mean, you could stop before this whole ink wash thing and weathering. You could just do that, paint the details on the vehicle, and call it done. No one would say otherwise. It's pretty cool as is. Now I'm using AK Interactive. I'm not sponsored by AK Interactive. I just happen to have a lot of this stuff. This is Africa Dust. We'll just get a bit of this out. And this bit's really cool. This is like putting makeup on a tank. Or creating a dust tank. I use an old brush here and I don't like it and I give it straight away, and I use a big brush. And this is cool because you just speckle that on there. Get it in the wheels and the bogies. Start dusting it. So people have been putting makeup on, themselves for years, but in 15mm we've only just started really getting into the weathering side of things and making our stuff look like the larger scale tanks. So just getting the bottom of the green. It won't really show on the yellow, but it does show on the green. What this does, and it doesn't adhere very well unless you seal it in, but as you can see, it starts building up in the gaps between the wood and in between the tracks as well is good. And anything down the bottom of that tank is going to get stuff on it. So once it's all done, I'm going to hit it from a distance with an aerosol, probably Tester's Dull Coat. What this will do is this will actually trap what's in there in the pigment, in the dust. Now this is fine as long as you don't do it too close. You can use a pigment fixer, but I've found that doing aerosol from a short distance also helps. Still not happy about this side of the tank, but it'll just had to be something I deal with, so that's life. Alright, so we'll get the back of the tracks as well, and of course the bottom of the tank where it's going to get all dusty. This stuff's really good. Any pigment dust I find is pretty awesome. Alright, now the turret. Alright, There's 500 points of Shermans in the Pacific right there. And there's my my Ghetto display board as I spin it around. Remember, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye bye for now.